The financing of Australian higher education has undergone dramatic changes since the early 1970s. Although the Australian government provided regular funding for universities from the late 1950s, in 1974 it dashed full responsibility for funding higher education. So in 1974, something in the past, so it implicit, unsaid, implicit, assumed. So whenever we talk about responsibility, the verb that we use is assumed. Assumed is like it took responsibility, but took is a very common word. So its para academic version, particularly in terms of responsibilities, assuming responsibility or assumed responsibility for funding higher education, hyphen dash tuition fees with the intention of making university dash to all Australians. So whenever you explain something with a hyphen or with a comma without having a new subject, like they could have said it abolished tuition fees, then it will be first form or third form. But if we do not have any subject straight away starting with a verb, then it will be ing. So they have assumed full responsibility, and what have they done is they have done these things, doing this and doing that. So we only have one form of ing, continuous form of verb, which is abolishing tuition fees with the intention of making university dash to all Australians, with the intention of making university accessible, inaccessible, manageable, reachable. So accessible means that in their reach, to make something possible for them to have the benefit of, that is accessible. Inaccessible would be not their reach, they don't have to manage education, and reach is used in like distance form. We want to reach this place, then it is reach. So we'll go with accessible to all Australians who had the dash and who wish to participate in higher education. So who had the dash, capability, capacity, talent and ability, and who here are the Australians, the people who basically have the capability or ability, because going to university does not depend upon if you have any talent or you have the capacity to do that. It's about ability or capability, but the answer would be ability. Ability simply means that you are able to enter university, means you have done your previous education and now you are able to go to the university. Capability would be like you have the necessary skills, education, experience, that is capability. Here we are not judging somebody's capability, just the ability. And who wish to participate in higher education. Since the late 1980s, there has been a move towards greater private contributions, particularly student fees. 1989, the Australian government introduced a higher education contribution scheme, which included a loan scheme to help students finance their dash. So finance their charity, gifts, contribution, donation. Here we are not giving any charity, gift or donation. The topic is going about contribution. So we'll go with contributions. This enabled universities to remain accessible to students. So here they already again talked about accessibility by delaying their payments until they could afford to pay off their loans in 2002. The Australian government dashed a scheme similar to HECS for postgraduate students. The Australian government introduced, because again it is in 2002, so it will be past tense, only one option is past, which is introduced. Funding for higher education comes from various sources. This article examines the three main sources. One is Australian government funding, student fees and charges, and HECS. While the proportion of total dash raised through HECS is relatively small, the total profit, revenue, returns or taking. Now see, there is here. Total dash raised through HECS is. So plural cannot be the answer. We cannot say returns. So proportion of total taking raised through total profit. So this is to help the students, not for business perspective. So profit cannot come here. What are we left with is this revenue. Total revenue. Revenue is like whatever you get back. Like for example, I've given the loan of $1,000 to students and I've got $700 back. That's the revenue. So it's not about profit. It's the total return on whatever you gave. So total revenue is relatively small. So always check the helping verb, even if it is after a few words in the blank. That helps you to eliminate the singular plural options.